America has an ongoing problem with the obesity epidemic. And yes, it is a thing, and according to studies, by 2030, almost half of US adults will be classified as obese. Though there are a lot of common factors around the world as to why there is an obesity problem.
Obesity is just one symptom of this much larger problem around our food system.
America seemed to promote obesity instead. Since the 1980s, the National Health and Nutrition Examination surveys have been charting obesity and extreme obesity rates as they've soared. As America progresses, so have obesity rates. Alongside this rise in obesity, chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and metabolic syndrome, these health issues are leaving a hard-to-remove imprint on the American obesity epidemic.
Being overweight and obese is the second leading cause of preventable death in the US.
Because of this, health problems will continue to get passed down from generation to generation, soaring up as it goes on. Americans have been getting more prominent over the past 150 years, and now more than ever, the rapid growth keeps creeping up. But unfortunately, it's evident that instead of outgrowing this, it has been easier and easier to gain weight, and it gets harder and challenging to avoid it. To make things more complicated, many current trends in the United States standards misleads overweight and obese youth into believing their bodies is normal even when it's not. Today in America, the unhealthiest foods seem to be the most tastiest ones, and the most of the time it's way cheaper than healthier options.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm of, a lot of really bad factors that have gotten us here.
Factors like big plates, big portions, big advertising. Food is everywhere in our society.
We eat it when we are sad, we eat it when we are happy, and we eat it when we have nothing to do.
And the trend of more significant portions of food have been part of an average American's daily eating lifestyle. While obesity problems soar up, food portions seems to keep up. Americans have been enjoying larger portions, especially their meat consumption. The issue does not end with just food portions. Here comes our consumption of beverages. People who drink soda would be more likely to have type 2 diabetes, tooth decay, and other health problems than people who don't. And Americans are consuming way too much of the sweet stuff, as Americans remain the world leaders in per capita sales of soft drinks.
Food is ubiquitous. It's everywhere you look. When I was young, the only thing that a gas station had was a gum machine.
Now there are sodas, candy, chips right at your fingertips. Grocery stores have changed too.
Because of that, one of the biggest public health wins of recent decades have been at a slow shift away from soda in the United States. However, while the soda category is shrinking, juice sales have remained steadily, and energy drinks and sports drink sales have been growing. Now we have to talk about the big green elephant in the room, and by that I mean capitalism. Marketing and capitalism prey on the American lifestyle, tricking the consumer into buying food with fake labels. Because no conversation about obesity is complete without talking about our dear old friend, we need to understand that capitalism has also played a role in the current wave of obesity in America. From the marketing of multitude of products with a higher concentration of sugars and contributors to weight gain as a whole, to the spread of false concept of dietary substances that have less fat but more sugar. For a long while, capitalism have marketed their products in various ways to make it so that populations at large consume more products without thinking about the societal impact such moves can cause.
So by worrying about obesity, we're replacing full-calorie Coca-Cola with diet soda in schools, which we really have no evidence is any better for kids' health than regular soda.
Many fast food chains have marketed themselves as a healthy food product. However, they are still very much contributing to obesity, like how Gatorade is marketed as an energy drink with electrolytes, but in reality doesn't affect you well because the high sugar content dilutes the electrolytes inside the energy drink. So in a way, American capitalism rebranding or creating products to diet doesn't help solve the issue they have created. Even environmental influences steer us to choose unhealthy food and eat portions too large for us. Stores and restaurants are awash in highly processed junk foods are high in calories and low in nutrients. Junk food is widely available, cheap, convenient, and heavily marketed. Unhealthy foods such as candy are displayed in highly trafficked areas such as checkout counters in stores and pharmacies. In a typical grocery store, entire aisles are dedicated to salty snacks, cookies and crackers, juice and juice drinks, and sodas. In addition, all-you-can-eat buffets are supersizing at fast food restaurants are invitations to excessive eating. This shows how much Americans cannot leave the old age habits behind. Instead, they barely resolve obesity and only replace the problem with a new one. Moreover, as the situation grows, it shows how Americans promote obesity. The food industry is a home for advertising unhealthy foods, targeting mainly children food palates.
Blaming and shaming and making fat people out to be the victims here, when really the problem is society and the corporate control of the food supply and government policy.
A study shows how a powerful influence on our food choices is advertised, especially advertising aimed at children. A 2006 Institute of Medicine study listed dozens of marketing firms that study the eating habits of mostly effective advertising techniques influencing children of all ages, including preschoolers. At the same time, the knowledge gained from those studies could be used to target children with positive messaging, encouraging healthy eating habits. But for the most part, that's not happening. Instead, the report found that current foods and beverage marketing practices put children's long-term health at risk. The most obvious of these practices is most common television advertising that targets children. By the age of 5, the average American child has already seen about 20,000 television ads for food, fully 95% of which feature unhealthy food choices like candy and cakes, things that draw in children. As the food industry keeps misleading Americans, having to purchase products that aren't healthy, the obesity pandemic would be harder to resolve, and since it's already part of the American culture and diet to enjoy the type of foods, it's harder to see the end of this kind of rope. And here comes the growth of technology, which has helped us make more productive and transform how we work. In the 1960s, nearly half of all jobs in the US required physical activity. Today, only 20% of jobs require any physical activity. Combined with our increased calorie intake, this decrease in activity has created a dangerous combination that has been making it more difficult for Americans to avoid excess weight. Not only this, but the rise of technology advancement caused a large population of Americans to move less, increasing the amount of food delivery services easily serving us with a click of our fingers, having us to enjoy our favorite foods in the comfort of our own home. Concerning tech advancement, here comes the rise of trends and movements. As America tries its hardest to end diseases passed down due to the obesity epidemic, many trends and actions that promote obesity tend to counter that. While all of these movements encourage Americans to love their bodies, they also encourage them to accept unhealthy lifestyles as well. Due to this, Americans becoming more denial about the fact that they promote obesity. As the pandemic began, the number of obese American adults blew up and also caused the rise of child obesity. Despite the American government effort to help end this crisis, Americans seem to continue promoting this unhealthy lifestyle. This does more damage than help. While the American government runs out of ideas to help solve this epidemic, educating people to love their bodies as if it's normal and natural does more harm than help. Because of this, we overshadow the fact that this epidemic has a harmful aspect to it. Chronic disease like diabetes can be passed down to our offspring. It's time to face the fact that the American culture of obesity is a societal problem that needs comprehensive societal solutions. We need strong policies that help promote healthy eating and activity living among families and make healthy eating choices easier. Given this widespread damage caused by the country's high obesity rates, we can no longer afford to just sit by and wait for individuals to decide to lose weight on their own. Instead, we must all take steps to encourage and, when necessary, require behavioral changes vital to saving ourselves from this threat. As much as it's true that we should love our bodies, promoting them in a way that normalizes unhealthy lifestyle does not only affect the current generation, but the generations after. It may be natural for people to gain at least a little weight later in life, but that's no longer the issue. The problem today is that by the time American children reach their teens, nearly 1 in 5 is already obese, a condition all too likely to continue throughout their adulthood. We could track down the problem of obesity back to our ancestors, yet it does not leave us a reason not to put an end to the crisis. Fat phobia, a cause of this epidemic, would not end with trends and movements normalizing our body sizes. Putting an end to this crisis will put an end to this problem as well. We should know that we can also love our bodies as well as take good care of them and slowly put our hands to help to end this crisis. According to studies, we need to know that the consequences of obesity are much more severe than the inability to fit our clothes. Obesity increases individuals' risk for a host of diseases, with cardiovascular disease right at the top of the list. Other medical problems triggered by carrying too much weight include stroke, diabetes, joint degeneration, and cancer. It's not only obese people who suffer, we all pay a price. Researchers estimate that obesity and its problems are responsible for at least $190 billion in direct annual healthcare costs.
It's a public health epidemic that's costing nearly $150 billion in healthcare every year,
driving the insurance premiums for everyone. Obesity-related health problems also result in loss of work hours, decreased productivity, while shortened lifespans rob younger generations of their parents. Encouraging our children and our families to move away from lazy behavior and become more physical active indoors and out. Community interventions such as safe walkable communities, parks, bike paths, playgrounds, and accessible outdoor programs for kids and teens are essential, and promoting a healthier diet isn't a personal attack on people's bodies. Instead, it's a way to improve and promote the opposite of our usual habits of promoting obesity. If we want to change the culture of obesity in our society, we must first acknowledge it has a dire epidemic with serious and health consequences and costs. Then we must turn to serious policies, systems, environmental interventions, and remove barriers to healthy eating and physical activity, and promote healthy decision making in homes, schools, and communities, and the nation as a whole. In conclusion, we must accept that our culture and habits have been promoting obesity in the long run. To end this, we must turn the tables around and start educating the younger generation instead of influencing them to keep this going. Do you think we can resolve this epidemic anytime soon? And would it be hard to accept that we started this and tolerated it? And would this be over anytime soon? I don't know. But what I do know is we can do a whole lot better. I want to thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.